We will have Joshua in our country in February. Then there is the big fight, one of the greatest fights
in the world. Like, you can't sit around and wait for Fury. The Usyk fight is not materializing, and I don't think any fans want to see that. So, in a way, this could be Joshua's final fight or final meaningful fight. It's going to happen in 5 weeks.
That there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity.
Turkey analyst Turki Alalshikh said it was a bad idea for Anthony Joshua to think about fighting Jake Paul. He said that he was planning to put together one of the biggest boxing matches of all time in February, but he didn't say who Joshua would be fighting. Fans were thinking that it might be Tyson Fury, but Alalshikh wouldn't say for sure. He also said that Joshua already has a fight planned for 2026, which shows how well this possible fight is being planned.
And Anthony Joshua this year, do you think?
As a fan, of course, I want to see it.
Want to see it.
Yeah, as a fan, but you need first of all to be sure they are focusing and they still have it.
Eddie Hearn, who has been Joshua's manager for years, is cautiously optimistic about the subject. He says that any big choice Joshua makes must be in line with the plans he and Turki Alalshikh, the powerful person who has changed the face of boxing around the world, made together. Alalshikh is important to Hearn because he thinks it will open the door to big events. Like the long-awaited match between Joshua and Tyson Fury, he thought that every move Joshua made should be part of a bigger plan and not just a side trip based on social media buzz. Hearn doesn't deny that a fight between Joshua Paul and Anthony Joshua could bring in a lot of money, but he stresses that big business needs careful planning, not random exposure.
I just see it, you know. I mean, when this fight was first mentioned by Jake Paul, I kind of laughed and thought that'd be nice, wouldn't it? And then, you know, meetings with His Excellency last week, who I think realises the commercial size of that fight and that opportunity. So if Jake Paul was mad enough to do it, I think Anthony would probably say yes as well and do everybody a favour and end it all, you know, for Mr. Paul in boxing. So, like I said, not really a fight we've been targeting, but if it's presented to us, why not?
Because John Fury isn't afraid to say what he thinks. He doesn't believe Jake Paul could beat Anthony Joshua in a fair fight. From his point of view, the physical differences are so big that any result that would favor Paul would make him suspicious right away. Fury is adamant that Joshua's strength and size advantage are too great, and he says that fans will have every right to question the event's legitimacy if the outcome is unexpected. His words show a deeper worrying that many traditionalists share. Boxing's reputation is already weak, so crossover fights need to be treated carefully so they don't hurt the sport's reputation.
How does that work? They can't, can it? Anthony Joshua could knock Jake Paul out with his dick. So if it goes any other way, you know.
You give me a headline there, by the way.
If it goes any other way, you know it's fucking fixed, don't you? Enough said.
When people from outside the boxing circle weigh, the talk becomes even more important. Because he is known for being blunt, Jamie O'Hara questions why Jake Paul should be allowed near Anthony Joshua in the ring. He thought that Paul's successes, while impressive for a famous person who became a boxer, did not put him anywhere near the level needed to fight an elite former heavyweight champion. For O'Hara, this matchup shows how popularity, online impact, and the chance to have fun have become more important than skill and rank.
I've got a problem with this one, because Anthony Joshua is a two-time world champion. Jake Paul's a YouTuber and doesn't deserve the right to be in a ring with Anthony
Well, don't buy the fight then.
It's dangerous. I think it's a dangerous fight. We saw what Anthony Joshua had done to Francis Ngannou. This is a fight.
I know, but what I'm
People
saying
are going in there, their health is at risk.
But the only reason they're
Put
doing
someone
it,
in there in a ring.
I know, Jay.
It's like, the only reason we're doing it is for money. That don't sit right with me.
Fine, then don't buy it.
We've seen boxers die who got punched in the face. Fine. You want to make some money. Eddie Hearn, all that matchroom, and make a fortune, right? Fine. Jake Paul's going to make a fortune. Anthony Joshua makes a fortune. I'm worried for Jake Paul getting seriously hurt. You are putting an amateur boxer in a ring with a two-time world champion.
Chael Sonnen adds a whole new level to the talk by questioning whether the whole thing is real. He says that people got too excited about this reported fight before it was officially confirmed by the organizers or the governing bodies. The way people reacted is seen by Sonnen as a sign of modern media society. It doesn't take long for rumors to spread, and people often mistake them for facts. He says Joshua has always stood for traditional ideals like discipline, structure, and professionalism in his work. For someone of his status to suddenly jump into a novelty fight goes against everything he stands for. Sonin's doubts aren't about the fighters themselves, but about the way people talk to each other, which turns every whisper into a global discussion.
Versus Paul. Done, right? Isn't that what we were all told? And I had reached out to Jake directly, but he didn't get back to me. I did get a response, but it was like, you know the response where somebody's like buying some time, or they just want to acknowledge, like they give you a receipt. I'm in receipt of your text message. They can give you an emoji or something like this, or sometimes there's even the automatic. I'm trying to remember what I got, but you can get like the automatic. I'll call you later. You know those? So even though I had said, hey, I'm looking for a confirmation of this fight, and he did respond, as I reflect back on that, it's like, well, he didn't respond confirming the fight. So who did confirm the fight? So I went to Helwani, and Helwani thought that it was confirmed, but he was a little lighter in the language than what I thought I remember hearing. And there's a number of boxing guys just saying, hey, that's not going to happen. And they had a few details, one of which was being Florida. And the Florida Commission would probably be open to something like this, particularly under the clause of exhibition. And then we'd all have to kind of hear, well, what are those rules and what are those stipulations? But that's reasonable to work with. But we haven't been able to get a confirmation from the Florida Commission. And now we're actually getting boxing guys on the inner circle. We're hearing from some British guys, from some fellow comrades to Joshua that said he wouldn't do that fight. He just wouldn't do that fight. That people would lose respect for him. That he has carried British boxing. This was one guy talking, but the guy said that Joshua has carried British boxing for 2 decades. And that while carrying British boxing on his back, if he was to go over and do a spoof fight against a YouTuber, now I don't look at Jake Paul that way. I look at him as a badass. I understand how greatly he is outmatched. I understand the lack of experience in comparison to Joshua. Believe me, I get it. But I don't dismiss him as a YouTuber, right? Look at him as a guy that went to the distance with Tommy Fury, not for nothing.
One more fighter with first-hand knowledge of both success and failure, Tyrone Woodley, offers a more balanced view. He knows that confidence is a strong tool and that a fighter who really believes in their skills can shock everyone. Woodley tells Joshua that he shouldn't think less of Paul just because they are different in size, skill, and background. A fight is still a fight, even though Joshua is thought to be the favorite, and ignoring the fact that surprising things could happen can be dangerous. Woodley's point of view is a good lesson that combat sports are unpredictable, even when things look like they don't go together.
Fight goes down. I mean, to be honest, when a fighter has belief in themselves, I never took Jake lightly. A lot of guys like, oh, he a YouTuber, he a Disney kid, but he does a good job of putting the smoke and mirrors up. He doesn't have anything limiting him from training, nutrition, training partners, coaches, and when you believe in yourself, and you're an athlete, you can put those hours into the gym, that's a dangerous person to go against. And you look at Anthony, he may be taking them lightly, when you have somebody that's smaller than you, that's more agile than you and moving around, we don't know how Anthony's going to deal with that fight. Of course, with the boxing, the skill and experience has got to go with Joshua. But Jake,
look what AJ done to Francis Ngannou, right? I'll put that to you. Do you not see that happening the same way with Jake Paul?
I mean, anybody can get caught with a punch. I got caught with a punch. Francis got hit with some shit, to be honest. So we didn't see a full fight. We didn't see, an exchange. We didn't see like we saw with Tyson Fury, where he, lasted most of the fight. So it's hard to judge off of that one. And they're such different fighters and such different sizes and styles.
Some experts are more technical, which makes them worrying about the difference in weight between Joshua and Paul. Many experts say that the fight should be held under showcase rules to keep everyone safe. Since the two fighters are very different sizes, there are, however, signs that the goal is to make the fight a real professional boxing match with all the proper rules. Some commentators use the term query conditions to talk about the parts of the contract that must be defined. There are rules about weight, gloves, rounds, format, referees, and general rules that make sure the fight is fair. Tourists who think that certain standards should never be broken are shocked by the idea of taking such a lopsided matchup seriously.
Breaking news, and I can't believe this is leaving my mouth. Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Jake Paul. Now, this isn't even an exhibition bout. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be in Miami. It's going to be in December. And Jake Paul, if Anthony Joshua loses to Jake Paul, then that will not make any sort of sense whatsoever. Because on an athletic level, an experience level, a skill level, Anthony Joshua is several levels above Jake Paul. So surely this is going to be an exhibition bout. Surely this is going to be, there's surely going to be some shenanigans here. Because if Jake Paul gets into a real boxing match with Anthony Joshua, he's going to get absolutely destroyed. Like, there's no point in me, like, I don't even need to break it down. What do you want me to break down here? And this is an easy payday for Anthony Joshua. And you know what? Fair play to him. People are going to criticise Anthony Joshua for fighting Jake Paul, but if he's really going to be fighting Jake Paul, which I don't think he is, then bro, he can do whatever he wants to him, literally. But then just imagine. Oh, it's just crazy to think about. Fair play to Jake Paul though, if this is a real boxing match. If I see exhibition attached to this, we'll know it's a sham. However, if I see that this is a real fight...
Even though Jake Paul has been criticized, his supporters say that he has been slowly building his credibility. Getting the job done against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. showed Paul's fans that he can handle fighters with real ring experience. Analysts say Paul is going after well-known, experienced names because they offer a real challenge. He wants this to be the most important fight of his career by calling out Joshua. People who back him say that he has taken enough risks to be seen as more than just an entertainer, even though his path has been unusual.
Says it's about what Jake Paul does. And the reality is, there are two mega fights he's came very close to making in the last 12 months, and they weren't against Anthony Joshua or big motherfucking cruiserweights. They were against men smaller than him. Canelo Alvarez, which was fucking days away from being made, and Gervonta Tank Davis, who, if he hadn't have lost his last, or drawn his last fight rather, that fight would probably be made for this end of this year already. Both of them are mega money fights. Yes, they're much more skilled fighters than him, but he's got a big size advantage. You look at, a mega size advantage on Tank, even though Tank is, an amazing boxer. Canelo is looking older. He's probably thinking, fuck it. I'm in there with Canelo. Why the fuck not? It's calculated gambling, that. Yeah, you might still get your ass kicked, but at least you can have imagine a path to victory. And even if it is delusional, it's not Anthony Joshua delusional. The biggest fight for the most amount of money is his true goal. But when he talks about the world titles, it's more of a, why not? I mean, if I fucking get through that and I fucking still got my life intact, then why not roll the dice against a top guy? Badu Jack, for example, is a world champion. He is very over the hill. There's a fight I can imagine him maybe in a couple of years going, fuck it. If he's still champion, why not? But with the killers like Vidal Riley coming up and others...
Simon Jordan makes one of the best arguments against the idea that Joshua would be interested in this fight. Jordan, whose views are known for being sharp and unbending, tells Joshua that he shouldn't think about a fight that doesn't add to his legacy. He thinks that combat sports should have rules, and when a heavyweight champion accepts a challenge from a YouTuber who has become a boxer, it makes the sport's competitive system look bad. Jordan says that choices shouldn't be based on money alone, especially for someone whose career has already made a big difference in the history of the sport in the UK.
Fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "What do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardise his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact. Whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might
as
damage
a fighter,
it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his
Yeah.
bank balance. But I don't think. I think in the great. I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
Others make the crazy path Jake Paul seems to be taking even more clear. Before going after Joshua, he fought Francis Ngannou, a fighter who was much stronger and more powerful than anyone Paul had ever fought. Paul has gone after well-known athletes, but his skills are still far below those of the athletes he is calling out. People who follow Paul say that the way he jumps from names and ideas makes them question that he will stick to any plan he makes public. This is why Eddie Hearn often takes Paul's words with a grain of salt. Jake may be driven, but his goals are always changing based on his mood, to chance, or his marketing plan.
It would be something unique. It would be something incredible. It's the same reason that I would be intrigued by a Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, although I would never advise Jake Paul to take a Anthony Joshua fight. I wouldn't advise him to take a Francis Ngannou fight either, because as much as Anthony is far better, which we saw when they actually fought, Joshua slept Francis Ngannou quicker than me after 2 melatonin. I mean, it was quick, fast, in a hurry, completely dominant. But we also saw Francis Ngannou go toe-to-toe with the heavyweight champion of the world at that time. Yes, he was out of shape. We understand that. But Tyson Fury on that night got the shock of his life when Francis Ngannou not only went toe-to-toe, but put him down and danced on him. To this day, I think that fight could have gone Francis's way. Point being, there are levels to this shit. Not just in boxing, but in combat in general. And the size difference Francis would have over Jake would be incredible, but it would have been a great event. And a lot of people would have tuned in. Francis, though, is saying that's not happening.
How can they go from like Gervonta Davis to Francis Ngannou? Like, I mean, Gervonta Davis is a fantastic boxer, but and he's a one-shot knockout artist. But come on, like the weight different and everything, it make no sense.
It's a good point. I mean, obviously, Francis is right about the weight difference, but it's a good point in general for what do you do next? Jake has sparred guys like Shakur Stevenson, Ray Ford, Montana Love to try to prepare for Tank Davis. And even if you book this fight on December 12th or December 19th, that's still a completely different fight than you were going into. Completely different matchup, size-wise, skill-wise, the things that you're going to need to.
When former champion Tim Bradley joins the conversation, it grows to include more people. Bradley talks about how confusing Paul's job moves are. Bradley remembers how Paul's plan to fight Gervonta Davis fell through, costing viewers, sponsors, and event planners a lot of money. He says this is an example of why many people in the business world are wary of Paul's statements. When a fighter with a huge online profile suddenly stops working on confirmed deals, it has an impact on the business side of boxing. Bradley thinks that things can't work well in the sport if big plans keep falling apart without notice. Some people think that Joshua could benefit in a small way from a strategy point of view if he fights Jake Paul.
Let's get on Tank real quick. You gotta be the dumbest dude, in the history of boxing, bro. $40 million, dog, down the drain. You gotta be the dumbest dude I've ever seen in the history of boxing, bro. Seriously. I'm like, $40 million, bro. Wealth. Literally wealth, bro. Going down the drain. I don't understand it. I can't make I don't understand it. But I'll tell you this. You know, MVP promotions, whatever the hell y'all call it, most valuable promotions, shit, more like rookie promotions. Yeah, more like rookie promotions. You didn't know what you were dealing with. You had no clue. This has always been down Tank's alley, man. Now, let me just say one thing. You know, you're innocent until proven guilty. Ain't no charges been pending on Tank at all, you know. But I'm just saying, this has always came up within the last few fights of Tank's career. Yeah, it has. And MVP, more like RP, rookie promotions, yeah, y'all should have had a backup plan. You should have had a backup fighter. Yup. You live and you learn. Oh, absolutely. You live and you learn. You should have had a plan B, just in case this man, Tank Davis, don't show up. Yeah. That's what you should have done. Now you're looking like idiots. You know, I heard through the...
Chris Algier says that getting back into action after a break takes courage and rhythm, and a big fight that is still easy to handle could help Joshua get back on track. Facing an opponent that isn't even close to as good as Joshua doesn't add to his reputation, but it might give him a chance to sharpen his instincts and get back into the competitive mindset. Even so, Algier says that the event's spectacle makes up for any sporting value it may have.
What do you mean? It's gonna be a fight. What are we talking here? Like, it's gonna be an exhibition? No, it's a fight. You're a heavyweight. You're calling out heavyweights. You're calling out a heavyweight. You're calling out Anthony Joshua, former world champion. You're calling him out on short notice. It's a fight. You're gonna wear 10-ounce gloves and you're gonna fight 10 rounds, and that's what it is. I don't understand any idea of anything else. Oh, it's gonna be 8-2s? Is it gonna be 15-ounce gloves? What the hell are we doing? This is boxing. You want to fight a real guy? You're fighting a real guy, which I am very respectful, and I respect the hell out of Jake Paul if he does step in the ring with Anthony Joshua. No matter what happens, kid's got balls of steel, and I applaud you.
Well, the reason I say we don't know yet because Jake Paul has fought in his last fight with Gervonta Davis was going to be an exhibition. They had to do that because of the weight difference. This is still a weight difference here. I mean, Anthony
No, there's not. No, it's not. It's
That's all for this video today. Watch out. Until next time.